Hello and welcome to Monday's Yoga Club. Your practice is at your own risk, so pay attention to how you feel. Do the things that feel right for your body today. Feel free to go a bit easy if you need to, missing things out if that's what's right. We're going to start today standing. So when you're ready, bringing yourself up to standing. Also, if you're watching the video, we're going to be using a belt today. So if you want to pause and go and grab a belt so you've got one ready for later, then please do. So we're just going to start with a little warm up of the spine and take this chance as well to bring our attention inwards. So while you're standing here with your feet hip distance apart, just allow your shoulders to relax back. Allow your hands to hang down towards the ground. And then maybe closing your eyes just for the next 3 or 4 breaths. Making them nice and long so that you can really feel the rise as you breathe in, allowing that to subside as you exhale. And then if your eyes are closed, open your eyes. And then when you're ready, taking a tilt over to the right. So as you tilt to the right, keep your hips easing a little bit to the left. Allowing your right hand to feel heavy, dragging you down a tiny bit more. Then coming back to the center, taking it over to the left. Now your left hand's heavy. And as well as now letting your left hand be heavy, let your right foot be heavy. So your right foot presses firmly down as well as your left hand easing you over further to the left. Then just keeping that going in your own time. So coming up and tilting over to the right. As you do that, take your weight over in your foot to the left. Each time you transfer your tilt one way, make sure you transfer the weight the other. Hello, Kim. So as much as anything, this is about bringing your awareness inside, really connecting your mind with your body. And you need to really keep your awareness going to keep the foot pressure on the opposite side to the tilt. So take one more of those to each side, having a good final tilt one side, really pressing the foot down on the other. And coming up to standing. Then bringing yourself to the front of your mat, ready for our sun salutations. So bring your feet together. Allow your hands to relax by your side. Take your shoulders back and down, and as you do that, let the top of your chest tilt slightly up. We'll take 2 breaths and then we'll begin. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, bringing your palms together at the center of your chest. Press them close together, lift your elbows, keep your shoulders relaxed. Lifting your arms to the ceiling, looking between them, lifting them higher as you take them back, and as they come back, they'll tilt your ribcage more up towards the ceiling. So you're showing your heart to the ceiling and your stomach to the wall directly in front of you. From your hips, stretch all the way forward and all the way down. Don't be afraid to stick your bum out the back. Coming down, letting your fingertips touch the ground, neck muscles relax, head hangs heavy. Taking your right leg all the way back. Keep your knee lifted, let your hips relax, let your gaze lift. And with your gaze lifted, you can maybe press your chin forward as you press your right heel backwards. So you're lengthening from your heel to your chin. Then taking your left foot back to our first down face dog. Hips lift as high as you can take them. Hands pressed down into the mat, heels pressed down. towards the ground. Come forward to plank, looking between your hands, pressing the ground away from you. Press your heels away and lower knees, followed by chest, making contact with your chin, or if you can reach your forehead on the ground. Press your upper body forward as you lift your face and chest. Ease your shoulder blades back. Bring your elbows in tight to the body, then tucking your toes and lifting your hips. You can take them back to your heels first or lift them straight up. Back to down face dog. Hands pressed down into the mat, heels pressed down, hips lifted. We'll take calf stretches. So bending your right knee, and as you next exhale, press your left heel firmly down to the ground. Inhale, swap that over, so now your left knee is bending, and exhaling, right heel firmly to the mat. Inhale to swap, exhaling, left heel presses down. Inhale as you swap, exhale, right heel. One more each side, inhaling swap, exhale, a really firm press down now. Feel the stretch in your left calf. Inhale, swap, and a firm press down on the right. Press your left heel down to join the right. Reset your dog if you've got the energy, hips lift, hands press down, heels press down. Then look between your hands and bring your right foot through, lifting your gaze, stretching from chin to heel. Left foot comes through, relax here in your forward fold. Everything in the upper body relaxes over the legs. Then reach your hands up, let them lead you upwards, looking between them, taking them back. Then hands come down. Inhale. Exhale, palms pressed together. Stretch and reach your arms up and back, tilting your rib cage to the seat. From your hips, stretching forward and down. Keep your arms lifted so they act as a control on the way down. When you can't go any further, let them come to the ground. Let your neck muscles and upper body relax. Left leg all the way back. Lifting your gaze, relaxing your hips, keeping your right knee lifted as your right heel presses away from you. And right foot back to down face dog. Hips lift, heels press down. As your heels press down, maybe tilt your tailbone up to the ceiling to get more stretch down your legs. And as your hands press down, maybe take them forward, pushing them away from you to help your armpits lower to the ground. Come forward to plank. A little bit of core here, so navel gently drawing to your spine, shoulder blades ease back, heels ease back, keeping your knees lifted. If you feel strong, take your elbows back and come down in one straight line, or take knees, then chest. Relax for a moment when you get there, then lift your face and lift your chest, shoulder blades easing back. Tucking your toes, hips lift to down face dog, hands press down and away from you, allowing your armpits to lower to the ground, hips lifting as your heels press down, stretching out the back of your legs. Seeing if you can send the backs of your thighs closer to the wall behind you, looking between your hands, bringing your left foot through. Help it as much as you need with your left hand, relaxing your hips. Right foot comes through. Then reach and stretch up. Let your arms lead you upwards, looking between them when you get to the top. And hands come down. Inhale. Exhale. So we'll take one more out. We'll flow this one with the breath. So this is now all about the connections between the postures as much as the postures themselves. Crown of your head lifts, feet press down. Rest breath to begin. Inhale. Exhale, palms pressed together. Inhaling, reaching and stretching up, taking your arms back. Exhale from your hips, stretching forward and down. Neck muscles relax, head hangs heavy. Inhale, right leg back. Let your gaze lift as your hips relax. Exhale, left foot back. Hips now lifting on high as your heels press down. Inhale, forward to plank, shoulder blades ease back. Exhale as you lower. Inhale, pressing forward, lifting your face, lifting your chest. Exhale, toes tuck, hips lift on high, heels press down. Inhale, right foot through, lift your gaze. Exhale, left foot through, forward fold, resting for a moment. Inhaling, reaching up, taking your arms back, tilting your rib cage to the ceiling. Exhale, hands down. Final side, inhale. Exhale, palms together. Inhale, reach and stretch up. Exhale, forward and down. Inhale, left leg back. Lift your knee, relax your hips. Exhale, right foot back. Press your hands forward, let your chest head to your knees. Inhale, forward to plank. Press the ground away. Exhale as you lower. Inhale, face and chest lifts, elbows in close. Exhale, toes tuck, hips lifting on high, hands pressed forward against the ground. Inhale, left foot through, lift your gaze. Exhale, right foot through, forward fold, head hanging very heavy here. Inhaling, reaching and stretching up and back. Exhale, hands down. Taking your feet apart, your palms to face forward, your shoulders relaxing. A couple of breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Then come to lying down on your mat, making sure your belt is close to one of your hands. And once you've done that, then relax, letting everything go. So that means really allowing your body to feel heavy against the ground. And if it doesn't feel heavy against the ground yet, then let your exhales help your body sink more firmly against your mat. So we're going to take our regular leg stretches, which I know is something that we do an awful lot. And the reason we do them a lot is because they are one of the best ways to, with complete control, lengthen and stretch the hamstrings. So bending your knees, bringing your feet in towards you, taking your belt, lifting your right foot and looping the centre of the belt around the ball of your right foot, then sending it away from you. Holding a belt loop in each hand with your arms straight. Sorry Barry, you maybe weren't there when I mentioned the belt. Okay. So with your leg stretching away from you, draw your toes towards you and press your knee down. I want you to really get the feel of your leg being completely straight. And often in leg stretches and hamstring stretches, we'll take a bend of the knee to lighten the posture. But what I want you to do this time is keep the legs straight, whatever. So as you next inhale, keeping that straightness in your leg, lifting it up just until you get to that real first hint of a stretch, and then you can reach your arms up so that you're holding a belt loop in each hand. So if you hyperextend, you might want to put a little bend in that knee, but otherwise keep the leg straight and only bring it as high as your hamstrings and your lower back is comfortable to go. So any discomfort, then just ease the height of the leg. Let your shoulders relax and then ease your leg back to that first biting point. So again, really be attentive here. Notice when you've got to that point where your leg can't really go any further, but it's not forced, it's not painful. And then use your breath so that every time you inhale, you ease the leg back another millimetre or two. Every time you exhale, you relax everything in your upper body. especially your shoulder blades, and as your shoulder blades relax, you'll feel the belt pull a little more firmly onto your foot. So take 2 more breaths. See if you can find 2 more biting points, keeping it a good, strong level of healthy stretch down the back of that leg. Then taking both belt loops into your right hand and extending your left arm out along the ground at shoulder height. So Barry, if you just let your leg drift out unfettered, that'll be fine. So left shoulder blade stretching, left arm stretching out, and then just very, very slowly start to let that leg head out to the right. Don't allow it to go any closer to the bottom of your mat, bottom end of your mat. So keep it aligned where it is. Belt can slip through your fingers. Your right elbow bends to take a hold, to come onto the ground. So that you're then suspending the leg. Let your left knee head out to the left. So as your right leg stretches out, your left knee stretches down. You'll feel some stretches down the inside of your legs. Keeping your wrists straight on the end of your hand if you've got any ache in your wrists. And then as you next inhale, bring the leg back up to the center. Reach up, taking a belt loop in each hand, and ease the leg back, keeping it straight. So toes drawing down, knees pressing away, feeling the stretch down the whole of the back of the leg. And then release the leg from the belt, let your leg lower to the ground. Just stretching your left leg out for a moment, let your feet relax apart. And then bending both knees so your feet come back in hip distance apart. Picking up your left foot, looping the belt around the ball of the foot, extending your leg out along the ground. So your heels touching the ground, your arms are straight as you hold the belt, your shoulders are relaxing down towards the ground. Flexing your feet, toes come up towards your knee, left knee presses down. That leg is solid and straight. And then when you're ready, on an inhale, bring the leg up towards the ceiling. Keep the straightness, really tuning into how that feels, coming to the first hint of a stretch, then reaching your arms up so you're holding a belt loop in each hand, and then ease the leg back to the biting point. The point where it doesn't want to go any further. Let your shoulders relax and then use your breath. Inhaling, ease back 1 millimeter or 2, exhaling, relaxing your upper body as much as you can. So what's important isn't how high your leg comes. What's important is the strength of stretch you are managing to create in your leg and the control that you've got over that. So taking 1 more breath, a final ease back, then taking both belt loops into your left hand, extending your right arm out along the ground. Slow as you like, letting your left leg drift out to the left, keeping it from heading down towards the bottom of the mat. Let the belt slip through your fingers, bend your left elbow, keep your right knee heading out to the right, but keeping your right hip in contact with the ground. Maybe pressing your left heel away a little to get more stretch. Taking 1 more breath, letting that leg relax down on the exhale. And then on your next inhale, bring both legs back to the center. Reaching up, take a hold of the belt, draw your toes down towards you, press your knee away as you take 1 final straight leg stretch. And then release your leg. Stretch your leg out, take the belt to one side, stretch both legs out, hands by your side, palms turned up. Taking a breath, checking in with how your legs feel. Then taking your arms up above your head, bringing your feet together, pointing your toes away from you, stretching your hands in the opposite direction, stretching out as long as you possibly can, feeling your body narrow as you stretch. And then release. Bring your hands over by your side and come from there to sitting ready to stretch the ITBs. So as a quick reminder, the ITB runs down the outside of the leg. It's a band that has no nerves, so you can't feel it stretching, but it connects to muscles at the top of the leg here and down under the knee here. So when we stretch it, we tend to feel something going on here and something going on down here. So coming to standing. I forgot to say that bit, didn't I? I can see everybody sitting. Coming to standing. And then picking up your right foot, taking it across the left leg. If you can, bringing your toes in line as much as possible. So as you look down, you're seeing two sets of toes in a line. But if for you to be comfortable, your left foot needs to be a bit more forward, then that's absolutely fine. From there, taking your left hand onto your left hip, just checking which way we go. And then you're likely to have turned ever so slightly to the right. So just bring yourself back around so that your body is facing completely forward, even though your hips have gone slightly to the right. Then as you next exhale, hinge yourself over to the left. Keeping that straightness in your torso. So you might find that your right shoulder tends to ease back. So you might just want to ease that shoulder forward a little. And then pressing your right hip out to the right. Making sure that your back foot is pressing down into the ground and that you're pressing it down with all four corners of it. So the whole foot presses into the mat. Then if you relax a little more to the left, you should start to feel some action down the outside of that hip where the ITB connects. You may not. Not everybody feels this. We're going to take this then 3 more times with the breath. So as you next inhale, bring yourself back up to standing. And as you exhale, tilt back over to the left. When you next inhale, press your hips more to the right. And as you exhale, hinge and sink more to the left. Inhaling, come back up. Exhale, tilt left. Inhale, press your hips more to the right. And exhale, relax left a touch more. One more, inhaling, come back up. Exhale, tilt to the right. To the left, to the left. Inhaling, right hips, press it right. And exhaling, have a final relaxed left. And on this final one is where you really now should feel those stretches going on down the right side of that leg. As you next inhale, bringing it up and then uncrossing your legs. Taking your right leg across the left. Again, bring your feet in line as much as is comfortable for you. Back foot's pressing firmly down. All 4 points of that, all 4 corners of that foot are pressing down. Taking your right hand onto your right hip. Making sure that your torso is aligned straight forward. So that might mean just turning very slightly to the right. And then as you next exhale, hinge over to the right. Sending your hips away to the left. Relaxing right as much as you can. So it's as if your right elbow is heavy and pulling you down. Tess, if you put your hand on your right hip, right, and then let your left hand relax. So we'll now take that with the breath. So as you inhale, bring that back up. And exhaling, tilt back right. As you inhale, press your hips leftwards. And as you exhale, relax more over to the right. 2 more. Inhaling, coming back up. Exhale, tilt right. Inhale, press your hips left. Exhale, relax down right. Inhale to come back up. And exhaling, final hinge right. Inhale, send your hips to the left. And exhaling, relax everything rightwards. Inhale as you lift back up. And cross your legs, bring your hands onto your hips and take a circle of your hips. First in one direction and then in the other. As we take, and then bringing that to a hold, as we take that stretch, we really stretch all these muscles tightly over our hip bones, so that just releases and eases them out. From there, bring yourself back down to your mat. We're going to come on to hands and knees to do some work for our core. So making sure that you've got your wrists under your shoulders and your knees are underneath your hips. And then with your neck level, looking down between your hands. You may, between your hands. Then I want you just to let your stomach muscles relax and just let your stomach relax down towards the ground, and you'll feel your back bend down towards the ground as well. So that feeling of relaxation, that's exactly what we don't want to have with what we're going to do. But it just lets us see the opposite of when we then take control of our core, ready for this. So to take control of your core, start to tilt your tailbone down very slightly as you draw your navel up towards your spine. So you're bringing your core muscles on. You'll feel your back level out. That dip goes, your back's completely straight. And then keeping a gentle drawing of your stomach muscles. You don't want to be pulling it tight because you want to keep breathing, but you want to be really having that feeling that you're solid at your core. From there, then lift your right arm away from you, stretching it out level with the floor. Taking your weight slightly over onto your right knee as you then extend your left leg out behind you. So keep your navel drawing gently to your spine. As you press your hands forward, your right hand forward and your left heel back, you should feel almost the stretch cross over where you're drawing your navel in. And then it's fine to stay here, but if you want to strengthen this, then take your right arm out to the right and your left leg out to the left. So you're coming out onto a diagonal, just taking that as far as your core supports. And then as you next inhale, bring that back in. So take up to 5 more of those with your own breath. Take a breath in and then exhale on the way out. And inhale on the way back in. Keep your hand pressing forward and your heel pressing back. Keeping your arm and leg on the same level as much as you can, parallel with the ground. So exhaling out. Inhaling in. I reckon there's about 1 more to do. If you've got it, keeping your navel drawing up towards your spine, then bring that back to the center and lower your right hand, lower your left knee, and then just again let your abdomen relax. Just let it go, let it all hang out down towards the ground, just letting your core relax, letting your lower back relax. So if you're finding this stronger than your wrists need, then you can take this on your elbows. So, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, navel draws up towards your spine, you feel your core re-engage, you feel your back level out. Then when you're ready, lifting your left arm, stretching it forward, taking your weight over to the left slightly as you extend your right leg out to the back. Press your fingertips forward, press your heel backwards, keep your navel drawing up towards your spine, and then slowly take everything out to the diagonal. Still stretching forward and back, navel to spine, and then back into the center, and then taking it with your breath. So you're exhaling out and inhaling in. Slow and steady with control, keeping your legs and arm at the same height. So you can lift your leg a little, Barry. And then if you've got 1 more, take it. And then And bring it back to the center, lower your hand, lower your knee. Take your knees nice and wide, feet together, and sit back towards your heels. So coming into a wide knee child's pose, letting your head relax down, letting your chest relax down between your knees. Taking your hands on fists if your forehead doesn't easily touch the ground. And then directing your breath into your abdomen so that as you breathe in, you'll feel your abdomen expand down towards the ground. And as you exhale, you'll feel it contract back in. Bringing your hands underneath your shoulders, pressing into your hands to lift yourself up, and coming to lie down on your mat, ready for a bridge. So bringing your feet in towards you, and just reaching your hands down, seeing if you can maybe graze the middle of your heel with your middle finger. That means your shins are roughly vertical, which is where we want them to be. Feet hip distance apart, moving your toes in slightly towards each other, but only a little. Letting your shoulders relax down to the ground. And then let's come up nice and slowly. So the first step is just to lift your tailbone a little so your lower back sinks into the ground and presses down. And then start to press into your feet to lift your hips so that you peel your lower back, then your middle back, then your upper back starts to lift away from the ground. Just coming as high as you can easily by pressing into your feet. Then starting to press your upper arms into the ground to help you peel more of your upper back away from the mat. And just to help us to really get the feel of the upper arms, what I want you to do is just to bend your elbows so that your arms lift and your fingers end up pointing up towards the ceiling. And then you can really focus on pressing your upper arms from your shoulder to your elbow down into the ground as you press into your feet and lift your hips. And while you're pressing into your feet, as well as pressing them down, press them a little bit away from you so that your little pointy out hip bones, if you were in a room, are heading up towards the corner of the ceiling and wall that's behind your head. Keeping your breath smooth, taking a couple more breaths there if you can, seeing if you can lift your hips a little higher, pressing into your feet, seeing if you can lift your upper back, pressing into your upper arms. When you next exhale, bring yourself down slowly, draping your spine one vertebra at a time, sending your hips towards your heels. And then bringing your knees onto your chest, lifting your head up towards your knees and hugging your knees in towards your chest. Then landing your head down, landing your feet down, and bringing yourself to sitting. En route to then coming to lie on your front, ready for our back work. As I teach today, I'm realizing these are all quite warm postures, aren't they? I'm afraid it's going to get a little bit warmer as we work our back. So coming to lie on your front. Let's start with a bit of a relax. So bring your hands one on top of the other. Let your forehead rest onto your hands. And if it feels like it would be a comforting thing to do, you could take a rock of your hips left and right. And then bringing that to a halt. We're going to build up today to Salabhasana, the locust pose. So we'll start, as we often do, with some cobra. We've already done some in the sun salutations, but we'll take a good couple of cobras in preparation for locust. So bring your hands underneath your shoulders so that your tips of your fingers line up to the top of your shoulders. That'll mean your elbows are pointing upwards. And then relax your forehead on the ground. If it doesn't feel relaxing to have your forehead on the ground, then you can bring your chin in contact. With your head resting on the ground, whether it's chin or forehead, then take your shoulders up towards the ceiling and down towards your feet. So it's an up and back movement. Then as you next breathe in, just lift your face so that you find yourself looking forward. And then with your hands just relaxing and resting on the ground, as you next inhale, lift your chest away from the ground. Taking your shoulder blades down towards your feet. Bringing your elbows in close, easing your chest forward, keeping your breath steady and smooth. Just being aware of how your hands feel on the ground. You should be able to lift them, and it will make no difference to the height of your lift. As you next exhale, lower yourself back down, making contact with chin or forehead. So we'll take one more cobra. With your chin or forehead on the ground, lift up and back onto your shoulders. As you next inhale, lift your face to look forward. As you next inhale, slowly peel your chest away from the mat. Shoulders ease back, shoulder blades ease back. Send your elbows down to your feet and bring your chest forward towards the front of the mat. Lifting your gaze, keeping breathing. Take one more breath. On the inhale, lift a little higher if you can. And as you exhale, lower back down. Bringing your forehead onto your hands, so hands come back under your forehead. Taking a few breaths. So in locust, we take a chest lift, similar to what we've just done, but with our hands by our side. So we'll do that upper body move, and then we'll move to the legs before we bring it all together. If anything feels stronger than you need, then take cobra instead of taking your arms by your side. But if you're going to bring your arms by your side, take them by your side now. Having the back of your hands resting. In fact, actually, have your hands so your palms face your legs and your thumb side of your hand is against the mat. Forehead or chin rest on the ground. Then as you next breathe in, lift your gaze so you're looking forward. As you next breathe in, lift your chest. Bring your arms up with you. Once you come as high as you can, press your arms back. They'll help you to lift a little higher, and then lift your arms up towards the ceiling. Keeping as much steadiness in your breath as you can. There's no room in your abdomen here, so it'll all be going into your upper back and chest. Taking one more good breath, lifting if you can. On your exhale, slowly lower down with control, bringing your hands underneath your forehead and resting your forehead onto your hands. So let's turn our attention to our legs. Making sure it's your forehead on your hands rather than a cheek. And then once you've got your forehead on your hands, just consciously let your upper body relax. So as you do that, you'll feel your shoulder, your armpits dip down a little to the ground so that your upper body is relaxed. Pressing your toes away behind you so that you feel your legs engage. And then as you next inhale, lift your right leg away from the mat. So you're just lifting your right leg. Press your right hip hip crease firmly down into the ground. Pressing your right toes back, seeing if you can peel more of your thigh away from the mat. Keeping your left hip easing down to the ground. As you next exhale, lower your leg back down. Relaxing the upper body, stretching your legs out behind you again. Then as you next inhale, lifting your left leg up towards the sky or ceiling. Pressing your left hip flexor down. My left and right might have gone a bit awry. This should be the different leg to the one we did last time. So keeping your hip flexor pressing down as you peel more of the thigh away from the ground. keeping that relaxation in your upper body. And as you next exhale, lower your leg back down. So taking both legs, pressing both sets of toes away. As you next inhale, lifting your legs away from the ground, pressing both hip flexors, hip creases firmly down, stretching your toes back a little more. You want your legs as long as you can make them, and then peeling more of your legs away from the mat. You want minimal leg contact with the ground, keeping that relaxation in your upper body so all the tension and works in the lower body. One more breath, one more lift if you've got it. And then exhaling, lower both legs down with control. So we're going to link it all together in coming into full Salabhasana, locust pose. Knowing that you can take a cobra or a leg lift and not do both ends at the same time, or rest this one out if your back's done enough. If you're coming into Salabhasana, bring your hands by your side, palms facing your legs, thumb side touching the ground. Then as you next inhale, lift your face looking directly forwards. As you next inhale, lift your chest away from the mat, bring your arms with you. And then as you next inhale, lift your legs. Pressing your hands and toes back. That might give you a bit of extra lift. Lifting your shoulders as you lift your arms. Keeping your breath steady. Taking 2 more breaths if you can. On each inhale, seeing if you can lift your arms, lift your legs a little higher. And then as you next exhale, with control, slowly lowering back down. Bringing your hands underneath your forehead and resting your forehead or cheek into your hands. Bringing your hands under your shoulders and pressing up to hands and knees. Ready to take some cat-cow to ease the back out. So wrists are under your shoulders, knees under your hips. We'll start with cow. So let your back dip down like we did earlier. So you're just relaxing your abdomen down, tilting your tailbone up to the ceiling and lifting your face to look up towards the ceiling as well. And as you next exhale, tailbone tucks under, your back arches up and your head tucks under. And then alternate those. So as you inhale, head and tailbone lift to cow. And as you exhale, nice and slowly, tailbone tucks under, head tucks under, taking it back to cat. Next time you're in cat, hold cat for a moment. Maybe strengthening it by pressing your hands, your knees and your feet down as you arch your back upwards. Seeing if your head will tuck under a little more, seeing if your tailbone will tuck under a little more. And then release. Maybe just sitting back for a moment into child's pose. You can choose your child's pose variation, so knees can be together or open, hands in front or down by your feet. Maybe putting something under your head, a brick, or making fists with your hands so you can rest your head. And then allowing yourself some good, steady, long breaths. And letting the exhale ease your body down, relaxing to the mat. Then bringing your hands in front of you, lifting yourself up to hands and knees, ready to take pigeon pose. So pigeon is a strong posture, and it's a posture that can hurt the knee, being blunt. So really pay attention to your knees through this and be really willing to come out quickly if this doesn't feel like it's the right thing for your knee today. So to prepare for pigeon, first of all start with your wrists under your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. And then walk each hand forward 1 hand length. That's to create space so that you can then bring your right knee up behind your right wrist. Let me take this way. In fact, let me take it this way. And then bring your right foot across so it's in front of your left knee. Then just take your left leg back, so it's a bit of knee-toe action, just to take that back. And as you take your leg back, your hips will lower to the ground. Let them come down as parallel to the ground as you can. So you don't have the right side lower than the left, you're bringing them down nice and evenly. Then just checking in with how your front knee is feeling. If that's feeling okay. We just want to do a few things just to help us to be really safe in the posture. The first thing is to flex your right foot so that you're just drawing it up towards your knee. You'll get very little movement, by the way, because it's squashed against the ground. Then if you can, I'm just going to move to show you, see if you can just press the big toe side of your foot away from you. So it just lifts the top of the foot a little bit away from the mat. It won't be a big movement, but you just feel your ankle become strong and active. Then take your right hip crease back a little bit and ease your left hip forward a little bit. That squares you up to the front of the mat. And if you can keep those things going as much as you can, that's that foot action and right hip back, left hip forward. You could then walk your hands forward a little, bringing your chest down nice and parallel to the ground, maybe coming onto your elbows. And if you come onto your elbows, you might find you can stretch your arms out and bring your forehead to the ground. If you've got a block to hand, don't come out for it, but if you've got a block to hand, you can maybe rest your forehead on a block if your forehead isn't touching the ground. So keeping your right hip crease easing back, easing your left hip forward and down a little. That will intensify the posture for you. And wherever you are, the main thing you can do now is just relax so that every time you breathe out, you allow your upper body to rest down. You allow your hips to rest down, deepening that stretch. And where you'll be feeling this is around the right hip, certainly in the right hip, and also down the right glute where you're stretching your piriformis. So taking 2 more breaths here, relaxing as much as you can. And then walking your hands slowly back, lifting yourself up away from the ground. Now for the next bit, we're going to take a quad stretch, but this is a bit of a balance. So again, just take this very steadily. The first step is just to make sure that you feel really balanced and strong with both your hands against the ground, with your weight pressing firmly down into your hands. If you're feeling good and balanced, you could then bend your left knee so that your left heel comes in towards you. Taking your weight very slightly over to the right hand side so that you take the weight off your left hand so that you can maybe lift your left hand and reach around, and you might find you can catch a hold of your foot or your ankle and draw your heel in towards your buttock. Keeping your hips pressing forward. If you find yourself falling out, then that's fine. It's a little bit of a balance here. A final draw of your heel to your buttock, and then release. Hands back, both hands on the ground, lifting your right knee, left knee, And then lift your hips so you can take your right foot back and have a little bit of a walk out, a bit of a walking dog just to ease everything out. And then bringing your knees back down so that you come back to wrists under shoulders and knees underneath your hips. Walking your hands forward one hand length and bringing your left knee right behind your left wrist, and then taking your left foot over across so it's in front of your right knee. Wonderful. Then walking your right leg back, bringing your hips down nice and evenly so they stay parallel to the ground. If at any point this doesn't feel right, then come out, particularly if you feel it in your left knee. Flexing your left foot, so you're drawing the whole foot up to the knee. It'll only be a small movement, and then pressing the big toe side of your foot away from you. That will just lift the top of your foot away from the mat a little, or at least you'll feel the weight lift away, even if the foot doesn't move that much. Then taking your left hip crease back, easing your right hip forward, and then you're good to go, and you can start to walk your hands forward, maybe coming onto your elbows, maybe, and maybe stretching out and resting your head on the ground. For anybody who's watching the video, if you want an alternative to pigeon, then you can take an upside down pigeon where you cross one ankle onto your knee and then lift your legs and reach through, take hold of your thigh, draw your leg in towards you as you press your lifted knee away from you, and that will give you a similar stretch. So everyone in pigeon, just easing that left hip crease back, easing your right hip forward and down. That will give you a bit more intensity. Taking 2 more breaths, relaxing everything on the exhale. It's great posture. The more you relax, the better it becomes. Then starting to walk your hands back, lifting yourself back away from the ground. So very carefully, getting some good stability here. So hands nice and wide, fingers wide, so you've got firm contact with the ground. Bending your right knee to pick up your right foot. Let me come sideways on. And then if that's all feeling good, taking your weight a little bit over to the left, so that you can then carefully lift your right hand, reaching it around and seeing if you can find a foot or an ankle, and then easing the heel to your buttock. Letting your elbow point up to the ground, opening your shoulder back, keeping your hips easing forward, and then releasing your ankle. Tucking your right toes under, lifting your right knee, lifting your hips, taking your left leg back, a bit of down face dog, and just walking your legs out. And then landing your knees down and coming up to standing, ready for... Actually, no, let's not do that. Let's sit down. Sit back down. Let's take a twist. So maybe finding a block to sit on, and then just coming to sit either comfortably cross-legged, or if comfortably and cross-legged aren't 2 words that really go together for you, then you could take your legs and stretch them out. So the pigeon posture is really well worth mastering, because it gives you the ability to get that great quad stretch at the end, but also it gives you the hip stretch. And after you've been running or riding, because it's one that you relax into, you'll probably just be ready just to collapse on the floor, and you can be collapsed on the floor doing pigeon and getting some really good benefit from it. So hands on your knees or on your legs if your legs are straight. Just lifting your chest as you pull gently on your knees or against your legs so that you're sitting up as straight as you can. Keep that straightness as you then lift your right hand, take it behind you, pressing your fingertips into the ground. So keep facing forward, taking your right hand onto your left knee. And then when you're ready, on an exhale, start to take your chest around to the right. As your chest eases round, you can take your gaze over your right shoulder, keeping your chin level, taking your right shoulder back a little more to help your chest ease round. And then use your next 2 or 3 breaths. Inhaling, pressing into your backhand to straighten as you exhale. See if you can just ease yourself around a little more. And as you do that, use your upper body strength. Use your right shoulder to leverage you back and use your left hand against your right knee. Or right against left if you're the other way around. Then take an exhale where you relax, bringing yourself back around to the front. Hands back on your knees, drawing yourself forward and straightening. Then left hand behind you, pressing your fingertips into the ground. Right hand on left knee. And on an exhale, start to take your chest around to the left. When it's gone as far as it will easily go, then take your gaze over your shoulder with your chin level. And then take your left shoulder back a little more to give you some more movement. From there, using your breath as you inhale, pressing into the backhand. So you straighten your spine with each inhale, and with each exhale, you ease everything around a little more to the left. Then taking a good inhale, and as you exhale, release, bring yourself back to the front, stretch out your legs, maybe take a shake. And then we're going to finish with a little bit of Achilles stretching. So if you bring yourself to standing, so we're going to take Utkatasana, which is chair pose. So to prepare for Utkatasana, have your feet hip distance apart and your hands relaxing by your side. With your hands relaxing by your side, just start to sit down a little. So your knees bent and you're sitting down as if into a bit of an imaginary chair. Once you've come down as much as you can, maybe just taking your weight back a little so you feel your knees coming a bit more over your ankles rather than over your toes. You could then lift your arms up away in front of you, keeping a good steadiness in your breath. Lifting your arms and stretching them forward as you see if you can maybe sink down a little more, being aware of this is a stretch in your Achilles while we're here. And actually the more you sit down, the more of an Achilles stretch you will get. Then, keeping that sitting down posture, let your hands drift down. And then with your hands relaxed by your side, maybe coming up onto your toes a little, and then sitting yourself down so that you're coming into a squat with your hands just resting by your side. Pressing your heels down towards the ground as you keep them lifted, if you see what I mean. Come out of this if this isn't comfortable for your feet. And then on your next inhale, bring that back up. And with that, we are done with the work. It's final relaxation to bring the class to a close. So coming to lie down on your mat, taking anything you want to rest your head on. I don't think anybody's going to need any warm clothes. And then once you're lying down, stretching your legs out, do keep your knees bent if your lower back's got any discomfort. And letting everything go there. So are your hands relaxed? Fingers just gently curling. Shoulders relaxing. Hips let go. Ankles released. Everything able to rest. Knowing that for the next couple of minutes there's nothing at all that's required of you. Just letting go. And keeping everything still for another moment or two as you bring your awareness back, feeling the ground underneath your body, and taking a wriggle of your fingers and toes. Bringing your legs together, stretching your arms up overhead, gently pressing your fingertips in one direction, your toes away from you in the other. Let that stretch release. Bend your knees, bringing your knees one then the other onto your chest, taking your arms around them so that you can take a rock side to side. Then bring that rocking to a halt. Have a final stretch by lifting your head up to your knees and drawing your knees towards your chest. Then release your legs. From there, maybe coming to the right hand side for a moment or two and slowly returning to sitting. Nice to see everybody. Thank you for joining me. Namaste.